Hi, I'm Isaac from Lovable, and this is a quick tutorial on Lovable. For some context, Lovable is a platform which allows you to build websites or apps simply just by talking with AI. You simply just describe what you want in plain English, and then the AI will create it for you. No coding needed at all. And then you can publish the app or the website immediately to the web. And people are already using Lovable to build all sorts of things, from small side projects to full software companies. Okay, but now I'm just gonna jump straight into building our first app. So to start off, we have this prompt window right here. And to build your app in Lovable, you have to start off by writing the initial prompt. So I've prepared this prompt right here, and this is an example of how one of these initial prompts could look like. So build a platform called FitCore that teaches you about health and fitness. It should have the following pages: landing page with a sticky navigation bar linking to all the core sections, workout library page with exercise categories, nutrition guide page with structures, beginner-friendly articles, and a resources blog page with card-based article previews. And then down here, I've included some style guides. So we have a modern and clean design with generous white spacing. We have some colors I've selected, and these are in hex format. And you can, find your colors yourself and just make them into hex to be more precise to Lovable. And then we have some other styling guides here. And we also have the target audience, which is also something you can include in your initial prompts. So once we're finished with our prompt, and we can even prepare this in a Google Doc, or we can chat with ChatGPT to try to figure out how the prompt should look like. When we're happy, we can just press on submit. And now Lovable will begin generating the first version of our app. Okay, now the first version of our app is finished. We can see that we have this little preview button right here, and we're on the preview right now. And we're on the home page, and we can see the hero page right here with an image and a nice little fade effect. And we got some sections here. Let's go to workouts. Here we have our various workouts, it seems like. Some nutrition fundamentals. And then we also have resources right here with various articles. Now, I don't think we will be able to press these articles, but I'm gonna give it a try. And as I'm doing it, nothing happens. So this feature hasn't been added yet. However, we can just send another prompt to Lovable and add these articles to the website. Okay, so I prepared a prompt, and this is the prompt. Right now, when I press the read article button on one of the articles on the resources page, nothing happens. This is not the intended behavior. Instead, we want to be taken to the respective article page. Can you please make dynamic pages for each article under /blog or /article that we can navigate to when we press the cards or the read article button? So as you guys can see, we have this little navigation bar right here inside of Lovable itself, where we can see kind of the page structure of our app. And what we want is that we want these articles to be dynamic, such that when you press on them, you get taken to a /article or /blog page. And under that blog page, you will have the individual articles. So that is kind of what I've described here. So now I'm just gonna press on submit. We update the website and add this feature. Now, while making these changes, such as adding the footer or adding the blog page, it's important that Lovable still follows the style guides of your website, so everything looks on brand. It can also be important that Lovable understands the purpose of the website and what features you want to have in the website during the entire building process. Because if you're adding a new feature which kind of collides with another feature, sometimes that can confuse Lovable. And in those cases, it's really, really good to have set up custom knowledge. So what custom knowledge allows you to do is basically to paste in information inside of Lovable's context window that Lovable will remember throughout the entire building process. So what we can do here is that we can actually just take our initial prompt right here, and we can copy it. And then we can go up here, go into settings, and then inside of knowledge here, we can paste in all of our style guides and all of the features that we want on the website, and maybe also the target audience, such that Lovable will remember that throughout building the entire application. And the Lovable AI, which is building your app, as with any other AI, has a limited memory, which means over time, as you prompt, Lovable will begin forgetting previous messages. Of course, Lovable will still be able to remember, your last messages, but if a message is really, really far back, Lovable might not actually remember it. However, we do have systems in place to try to minimize this from occurring, but it's still good, and it's highly recommended to describe all of the features and style guides within this kind of custom knowledge file. Now, sometimes you may want to make subtle changes to your website. Then it can be annoying to have to describe to Lovable the exact pixel amount I want to adjust the margin between these cards, and it would also deplete your credits. So that is why we have this feature called visual edits, which allows you to select an element on the screen, like this card for instance, and then you can actually adjust the margin manually. So you can go up here, and then you can drag these and you can adjust the margin. You can do the same thing for the padding as well. You can also adjust the color. And as you notice, this is applying across these cards because these cards are using the same component and it's kind of mapped out 4 times. So it's the same component which is being used 4 times. So when changing the styling, it will apply across these components. For example, you discard this and we take a look at an individual element like this right here. The change will only occur on that individual element. We can also change the text. So we can say like hello, and then we can save that. And then Lovable will apply that change. Now, of course, I don't want this to just say hello. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to actually revert back to the previous version, which is also something you can do within Lovable. So as you can see, we have these little preview cards here. And as we press on them, we can actually preview them. So we can go back to an old version of the website. This version, I believe, didn't have the blog articles. Yes, that is correct. While, you know, this version does. And this version doesn't have the text saying hello, which is the version we want. So what we can do now is that we can revert to this version. So I'm just going to press on revert. And now Lovable has reverted to the previous version of the app. Now, this website right here is pretty static. It's basically just a normal HTML website. It has no really dynamic content other than the blogs, but even those are hard-coded within the app itself. So what if we wanted to create something which is more akin to a web app rather than a website? Like, let's say we wanted visitors to be able to become users and create accounts and log in and create workouts and even track their progress, or maybe even have an AI tutor that can help them out with their workouts. We would have to enable something called Lovable Cloud, which allows us to add more advanced features like login, persistent data storage, various integrations like email automation, payments, basically any API or online service that you would typically be able to implement while programming, you can implement within Lovable. So I will just quickly prepare a prompt to add these features to my fitness app. Okay, here's my prompt. It's pretty long, but I will go through it quickly. So, main app visible only after logging in. Enable Lovable Cloud for login, data storage, and server-side logic. Add user authentication, sign up, login, logout, store all data per user. After logging in, users should be taken to the main app dashboard, and the public fit core pages should be hidden. The main app should feel like a separate private environment. Main app features. Create a structured exercise library with categories, strength, cardio, flexibility. Each exercise must include name, image, description, category, muscle tag, difficulty, equipment, other useful attributes. Then we have port number 2, workout creation. Port 3, weekly workout schedule. Then we have port 4, progress tracking. And then we have port 5, workouts, nutrition, fitness guidance. Now we can just submit this prompt, and Lovable will automatically suggest to us that we should enable Lovable Cloud. Now, this prompt was very, very detailed. Of course, we don't actually have to be this detailed, but it can be good because that will allow us to be very, very precise when building out our app. Of course, if we weren't this detailed, Lovable will basically just provide the details for us, but then we're not really picking how the structure of the app should be like. And in this case, I want to be very precise. Now we can see I have this set to auto approve, but typically you would have to press on allow when you get one of these pop-ups. And this pop-up is the Enable Lovable Cloud pop-up, which basically outlines all of the features that Lovable Cloud allows us to do. So we have built-in backend, data storage, authentication, backend logic, all ready to use. And then you also have the ability to add an LLM or an AI within your app that you're building. And in our case, we want this little workout tutor, basically. So we're going to have to use this feature as well. And then we can see that Lovable has asked us a question here back in the chat. So I'm just going to reply to this. We can also skip it. So it's basically telling us which of these main app features would you like to build first after authentication. So we could just select exercise library, and then we can go to the next question. What we can also do is that we can say something ourselves. Of course, we want to build out all of these things actually. And please add all of them at once. And then I'm going to go to next. How should users access the main app after logging in? So we can see replace the home page. So I think we should use this option /app. So I'm just going to select that. And then I'm going to press on submit. Now we can see that Lovable has written a bit of code here in the chat. And we can see that this is a modified database kind of window, which means that it's basically modifying the database. And here we can just press allow. And it's basically creating schemas or templates for the database. So we can read some parts of this. So we can see here creating profile table, which is basically a template for how data is stored for each user. So basically, the database consists of these various templates or schemas that Lovable has now written, and we have now kind of applied to the database. So we can actually store all of this data now that we're making this a full stack app. And now we can see that Lovable has created some more database modifications. I'm just going to press on allow. All right, now Lovable is finished. So we can see here that it has created all of these things. So let's give it a try. So we have here sign up / sign in. I'm just going to create like a random email, test@gmail.com, and then I'm going to create a random password. And once we're signed in here, we can see that we have our dashboard. We have an exercise page. We can add an exercise. Okay, cool. We have workouts and we have a schedule, and we even have progress right here. Another thing that we can do here is that we can press on this cloud icon, and that will take us to our backend basically and our storage. So we have this overview right here, and then we can go to these individual pages like the database, and then here we have our exercise table basically with the various exercises, and we can see that these are linked to users. So when a user creates an exercise, it's linked to that particular user. And then we also have these other tables like the profile table. And of course, this is only viewable by you. You are like the admin, so you have access to these things. And then you can also go down to users, and we can see how many users we have. Here we have our test account. We can also go to storage. Right now we don't have any storage, but basically storage would be, images, videos, even maybe PDFs that you can save inside a Lovable Cloud, which allows you to make it such that each user have their own profile picture, for instance. So basically you can allow for dynamic images and videos, etc. Then here we have something called edge functions, which is basically pieces of code which are ran on the backend or on the cloud. And right now we don't have any edge functions. So basically all of the code and scripts are ran on the front end, but we do of course still have some database logic and users on the backend. And then here we have something called Lovable AI, which we will actually use to add our AI coach. And then also here we have something called secrets, which we don't have to worry about too much. But basically you can store secrets safely within the backend, and these secrets are API keys. But we will go through that later. And here we have logs. If you ever get stuck in your debugging, you can take a look at these. But it's also something we don't have to worry about right now at the moment. So what I will do now is that I will paste in this prompt right here, which I prepared, which is, can you now create some default standard exercises in the exercise library that all users have access to by default, so you don't have to create all of the exercises yourself? And then can you also add an AI coach that should have access to the user's context and workouts and progress? And then I'm just going to press submit, and then Lovable should create this. And the AI coach is an AI feature that Lovable should recognize and then use Lovable AI, which is over here. So Lovable will basically ask us to enable it, similar to how Lovable asked us to enable Lovable Cloud. So we can see here that it gets approved because I have auto approved on. And then we have this database migration right here, which we can also set to always allow if we want to. Okay, perfect. Now Lovable has added the default exercises, I believe. I still cannot spot them, but we also have the AI coach here. So hello. Okay, we got an error, so I'm just gonna press on try to fix. And when you get one of these errors, pressing on try to fix will not deplete any credits. We can also check how many credits various messages used by pressing this icon right here and reading credits used. So some messages take more credits than others. For instance, this message probably didn't take so many credits. Yes, only 0.6, while this one took a bit more because it's like more things for the Lovable agent or AI to do. Okay, let's give the coach a try. So hello. Hi there, thanks for reaching out. I'm excited to help you on your fitness journey. And we can see here that it has the various workouts, in its context. And then you can see which ones we have scheduled, which looks way better. While this was loading, I was actually preparing another prompt. So what I've noticed now is that we have added all of these features, but we haven't actually updated our custom knowledge to include the features. Of course, it has still been working fine, but we should probably update our custom knowledge to include all of these additional features, just so Lovable can keep track of everything that we have. We have added a lot of new features now. Would you please be able to update our custom knowledge to include all of these? This is our current custom knowledge. Let's add file. But we don't even have the main app included, or any of the new features. Please write a new custom knowledge file and I will paste it in and solve this issue. And then I'm gonna select something called chat. And this feature is called chat only mode, and it allows us to chat with Lovable without Lovable writing any code. So I'm just gonna submit this because right now we don't want Lovable writing any code. Now, in this chat only mode, Lovable can also suggest plans. And when Lovable suggests a plan inside of chat only mode, a little button called implement plan will also appear that you can just press on to implement that plan, which is also pretty nice. Okay, perfect. So Lovable has now written all of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy it and then go over to custom knowledge again and paste it in and save. I want to try integrating an external API. So currently we have just been working kind of within Lovable, but you can also integrate external services using Lovable Cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Lovable to add some external service, and I'm going to use this voice typing feature within Lovable, and I'm just going to ask it like a question. Hi, is there any integrations or external services we can integrate within our fitness app? Any public APIs or APIs that we can trial for free that we can test out within our app? And I have chat mode enabled, and I'm gonna submit this. And basically APIs are ways for you to integrate external services to your app. It's the way the web communicates, basically. So what we're looking for is an external service that is open to communicating with our app, basically. Well, I think all of these sound pretty good. And we also have these food APIs, and these ones I think sound a bit more fun. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, please, implement this API right here, which is a food API, and make it a separate page within the main app. And then I'm just gonna press on submit. Of course, we can go really fancy with this. We can be like, let the AI coach, select which food you should eat, etc., etc. You can really expand on this. But I'm just gonna ask Lovable to integrate it within a separate page, and we will see what Lovable comes up with. Basically, Lovable is now doing a bunch of research, and usually on these APIs, you might have to go through a website, you might have to create an account. I think this API is opened, so we don't have to do that. Okay, it seems like we still have to do that, so we have to get an API key. It says action required by user, and I did this in chat only mode because I wanted Lovable to basically take a more methodical approach to this and do all of this research, which Lovable basically did. Lovable searched up the API and everything. I'm going to create an account here quickly, and then I'm going to sign up, and then it should generate some credentials. So it seems like the API key has been emailed to me. I'm going to find the email. Here we have it, and here we have the API key. And the API key is very secret. We don't want to leak the API key because the API key identifies me as the user of this API. And basically, we don't want to publicize our API because then other people will be able to use this service with our account. And it could even be a paid API service. And we don't want someone else using your credits or your tokens because they have your API key. So you don't want to leak your API keys. And Lovable actually has a system for handling that. So I'm just going to press on implement plan now. Okay, there we go. Now Lovable has asked us for our API key, and as we can see, it's secret. And we have this feature called secrets, which allows you to store these basically API key variables within the backend safely. So we can see here, secrets securely store sensitive information like API keys and tokens in the backend. So basically we can just paste in this API key here, and we can press on submit. And then I'm going to paste it and press submit. And this API key should basically appear here soon. And we can see we already have an API key right here, which is the Lovable API key, which is an individual API key you get to use Lovable AI. It's also a key which you want to keep secret. If we were to remove that, then the AI coach within our app wouldn't work. It seems like Lovable has added this new page here, food search. Let's wait for Lovable to finish everything. Let's search for apple. And there we go, we have a bunch of apples here appearing. Let's say now that we wanted to add payments. Let's say we wanted to add a premium feature and we wanted a monthly subscription on it. For that, we can integrate something called Stripe, which is by far the most popular way to accept payments on the web. So basically, Stripe is an API, basically, that you can integrate within your app to accept payments from users. And we have an integration with Stripe, which makes this process very, very smooth. So I'm just going to prepare a prompt quickly. Can you please make it such that the AI coach feature is behind a subscription paywall for $12 a month? Please integrate Stripe for this. And then I'm just going to press on submit. Now, to add Stripe, you also have to make sure that you have Lovable Cloud enabled. In our case, we do have Lovable Cloud enabled, so this won't be a problem. So now Lovable is asking us for the Stripe restricted API key. So to access that, we have to go over to Stripe and go over to their website. And we're inside of sandbox mode right now, which means that none of the features inside of Stripe will be live. It will basically be fake money that we're paying with just so we can test it out before we go live. So when we're over here now, we can actually search up API key. And we can go over to developers API keys, and what we want is the secret key. So we can go over to the secret key and we can press on copy. And of course, the secret key is secret, so you don't want to leak it. So that is why you have this little window right here within Lovable. Instead, we want to press submit, and we want to submit it within the secrets store within Lovable, so it's safe. And we can see here that Lovable has created the metadata with respect to the subscription, so I'm just going to press on allow. Okay, so now Lovable is finished with adding the subscription, so let's give it a try. If I press on AI coach, yes, there we go. It's a premium feature, so we have to subscribe. So if I now press on subscribe, we should be taken to the Stripe checkout page. which is a separate page that basically Stripe hosts. I believe it should have redirected us to it right now, but it could be the case that we're still inside of this web preview instead of opening the real kind of application, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna log in here quickly, sign up. And as I said before, sometimes when dealing with kind of web redirects to external websites, which the Stripe checkout is one of those cases, you may have to open up the kind of real URL to make it work. If we go over to subscribe now, we should be taken, yes, to the Stripe checkout. And here we have it. So now, because we're inside of sandbox mode, we can actually use a Stripe test card. So I'm going to search up Stripe test card info. And then here, we can go over here to the Stripe documentation. And we can see the Stripe card test info. So if we go over here and we just press this in and we select the date, which, you know, isn't in the past, and we can make this 4242 and we can pay and subscribe, then yes, and we get redirected back, and now we should have this premium subscription. Now it still says we're not subscribed, which is a bit strange, because we should be subscribed and it should allow us to access the feature. So we're just gonna have to debug this quickly. Okay, so I prepared this prompt. I pressed the subscribe button and I got taken to the Stripe checkout, and I paid with the Stripe test card. However, when being redirected back, the subscription button is still there, and I can't access the AI coach even though I am subscribed. Let's press submit. Now we can also see here that we have a security error. I'm gonna cover that later. Let's just wait for this to finish. Okay, let's give this a try now again. Let's get back to the website. Yeah, let's log in again. Let's go to the AI coach. Yes, and now the AI coach is available. Perfect. Now we can also press on this manage subscription button right here. Yes, will also take us to the Stripe kind of subscription management page. And here we can also cancel the subscription, which is perfect. So basically now we have payments implemented. Now to actually publish your app, you would go over here to publish and then you would press on publish. But before we do that, we would want to conduct a security scan. And as we can see, Lovable has already detected one security flaw or error. So if we go to security scan now, we can see the kind of error here. So leaked password protection disabled. So this is actually a Supabase thing, which has to do with Lovable Cloud. So basically on Lovable Cloud, we're using Supabase behind the scenes. So this is a warning and not an error. Ignore it and not worry about it. But we can read up on these warnings. So I'm just going to press on the docs link right here and we can see how we can actually enable this. So leaked password protection disabled. When using Lovable Cloud, activate the switch password HIDP check in cloud users off settings email. And if you're using Supabase, then you can follow those instructions. So basically what we'll have to do is that we'll have to go to cloud users off settings email. And then here we have the feature right here. So we can enable this, which will basically block users from being able to create guessable passwords, which just makes it, you know, safer for users to use our app. So I'm just gonna press on save, and it seems like something's wrong. Valid site URL, only HTTP URLs are allowed. What I think we have to do here is that we have to, you know, change our URL here. So I'm just gonna do that quickly. But what I will do now instead is that I will just press on review security, and I will just press on this button right there, press update. And it will do another security scan of our app and try to fix any flaws other than this warning right here. And I recommend always doing one of these security reviews before you publish your app. Okay, so it seems like Lovable found some issues during this security review. So I'm just gonna ask Lovable to implement these changes. So I'm just gonna be like, nice, can you please implement these fixes and fix all of the severe flaws? Okay, perfect. Now Lovable has fixed the security flaws. So I'm now just going to publish the app. Okay, there we go. Now the app is live and published. And we can see here that Lovable has selected this kind of guide-hub.lovable.app. And we can copy this and we can visit the website live. Now we may also want to set up this website inside of off settings on advanced down here. And we can save that. There we go. Now, another thing which we may want to do as well is to set up a custom domain. You can do that within Lovable as well. It's pretty easy. Either purchase the domain through Lovable, or if you already have a domain, you can connect that to your Lovable app. But either way, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be making a part 2 of this tutorial, which will appear on the screen now when it's finished. But if it's not appearing right now, you can subscribe and stay tuned, and you can search up other YouTube videos about Lovable to learn even more. You can check out our documentation or our Discord server if you need help. But thank you guys so much for watching. Bye bye.